This is examples in music for objectives 9.1 through 9.4. We're going to do all these objectives in the same talk. Objective 9.1 says identify the root, third, and fifth of a seventh chord when the notes are mixed up on the staff, meaning not neatly stacked in thirds. 9.2 says identify and notate seventh chords in root position, first inversion, second inversion, and third inversion. 9.3 says identify, notate, and label seventh chord positions using figured-based numbers. And 9.4 says identify and label seventh chords and triads with correct Roman numeral and inversion symbols in real music examples. In this excerpt by Schumann, we start off with a seventh chord. I see a C sharp, a B, and E, a G, and then an E. That is a seventh chord with the root note C sharp, the third E, the fifth G, and the seventh B. This is an example of a half diminished seventh chord in root position since the root of the note is the lowest sounding pitch. This piece happens to be in the key of B minor, which would make this C sharp 7 chord a 2 chord. Since it is in root position and it is a seventh chord, the figured bass symbols for here would be just the numeral 7. The Roman numeral would be a little I, the circle with a slash through it, and then the number 7. The chord that follows right here is also a seventh chord. Notes involved are F sharp, A sharp, E, F sharp, and C sharp. That gives you a seventh chord with F sharp as the root, A sharp as the third, C sharp as the fifth, and E as the seventh. In the key of B minor, this F sharp chord is the dominant. It is a major minor seventh chord. It is in root position. Therefore, the Roman numeral down here would be a capital V with the number 7. The next chord we see does not involve a seventh. It is simply a triad. B, B, D, F sharp, D. The root is B, the third is D, the fifth is F sharp. This gives us a minor triad. Since the key is in B minor, this would be a 1 chord. We would mark it with a lowercase I, with no inversion symbols since this is a root position triad. Right here, we have the same chord, but the bass note is now the D. We still have B, D, and F sharp. This is still a 1 chord, but now it is in first inversion. Therefore, we'd label it with a little I with the number 6. And this chord progression happens from this measure to this measure and then is repeated from here to here. We'll play that again. This is an example by Beethoven, and let's look at the first chord. The key of the piece is E flat major. We have an A flat, an E flat, an F, an A flat, a C, E flat, F, and C. The root is F, the third is A flat, the fifth is C, and the seventh is E flat. This gives us an F minor minor seventh chord. In the key of E flat, this would be the second scale degree, so we would mark this as a Roman numeral 2, little I, with the number 7. That chord is then repeated here. Since the A flat is in the bass, we'd mark that in first inversion. Since this is a 7th chord in first inversion, the Roman numeral down here would be little I, with the figure bass symbols 6, 5. If we look at the notes here, we'll notice that they are the same notes but rearranged, and down here in the bass we still have an A, so it'd still be the same Roman numeral figure of a first inversion 2 chord. Following those chords, we have some chromaticism and some interesting harmonic chords to follow, which we'll cover in later objectives. This is a piece by Tchaikovsky. This part happens to be in D major. First chord, we see C sharp, A, E, A. That's an A, C sharp, E chord in the key of D major. That is a 5 chord. It is a triad. It has C sharp in the bass, which is the third. Therefore, the Roman numeral down here would be a capital V with the number 6. Then we see D, A, F sharp, A. That's the tonic chord. It is a triad. D is the root and is also in the bass, so we'd mark this with a Roman numeral capital I. Next chord, we have E, A, G, A, with a D that resolves to C sharp. We're going to discount the D for now, and call this an A, C sharp, E, G chord. That's a 7th chord with E in the bass. We could say the 5th in the bass. A is the root, C sharp is the 3rd, E is the 5th, G is the 7th. This is a major minor 7th chord. It is the dominant, so we'd mark it with a Roman numeral uppercase V with the inversion symbols for second inversion for a 7th chord, being 4, 3. This next chord, we actually have the same notes involved. This A carries through and is still sounding at this time. This A is also still sounding through. So notes we have are A, C sharp, E, and G, the same notes that we had before. But this time the G is the lowest note. That's the 7th chord. So the inversion symbols change to this. Roman numeral capital V with the inversion for third inversion, numbers being 4, 2. Let's look at the chords on the next stanza. Here we have F sharp, A, and then we're going to count this D, which takes us back to our 1 chord, so we'd have capital I with the F sharp in the bass, so it'd be a capital I with a number 6 for a first inversion. Here we have D, A, D, F sharp, D. That puts the 1 chord in root position, so just a capital I with no inversion symbols. Next we have a B, E, B, E, G, D, and a G up here. The root chord of that is E, the 3rd is G, the 5th is B, the 7th is D. They're all natural notes, making it a minor 7th chord. So the root is E, the 5th is B, and that's what's in the bass. So this is a 7th chord in second inversion. The Roman numerals in this key of D major would be little I for Roman numeral 2, with the second inversion for 7th chord symbols of 4, 3. The next chord we have A, E, A, C sharp, and G. So that's an A, C sharp, E, G chord. It is a 7th chord. The Roman numeral would be capital V with a number 7. And finally, D, A, D, A, D with this F sharp and eventually this F sharp. This is a 1 chord. We would mark it with a capital I right here with no inversion symbols. And when it goes to this, the change of bass puts it in first inversion. It would be a capital I Roman numeral with the number 6 for first inversion.